The snowflakes fell thick and heavy that evening, turning the city streets into a white blanket that muffled every sound. 7-year-old Tommy walked home from his piano lesson, his red coat keeping him warm against the bitter cold. His breath came out in little puffs of steam as he kicked at the snow piles on the sidewalk. He took a shortcut through the alley behind his apartment building, the same route he always used. But tonight something was different. A strange sound came from behind the dumpsters, a weak whimpering that made Tommy stop in his tracks. Tommy crept closer, his small boots crunching in the fresh snow. Behind the green metal bins he found a creature unlike anything he had ever seen. It was about the size of his neighbor's cat, but this was no ordinary animal. The creature had scales that shimmered between blue and silver, small wings folded against its shivering body, and a long tail that curled around itself. Frost covered its entire body, and its breathing came in shallow, desperate gasps. The creature's eyes opened slightly, revealing golden pupils that looked at Tommy with such sadness and pain that his heart ached. It tried to move, but could only manage a pitiful shake. Ice crystals had formed on its scales, and the small wings were completely frozen. Tommy did not think twice. He pulled off his winter coat, the one his mother had saved 3 months to buy him, and wrapped it carefully around the freezing creature. The cold bit into his arms immediately through his thin sweater, but he did not care. The creature needed the warmth more than he did. He gathered the bundle into his arms, feeling how light the poor thing was, and ran toward his apartment building. His fingers were already turning red from the cold, but he held the creature close to his chest, trying to share his body heat. Tommy lived on the 3rd floor. He climbed the stairs as quietly as he could, listening for his mother's footsteps. She worked the evening shift at the hospital and would not be home for another 3 hours. He had time. Once inside his small bedroom, Tommy created a nest using every blanket he owned. He pulled them from his bed, his closet, even the spare one from the hallway cupboard. He placed the creature in the center of this warm cocoon, then rushed to the kitchen to get his heating pad and a bowl of warm milk. The creature's breathing was so faint now that Tommy feared it might die. He placed the heating pad on low setting beneath the blankets, making sure it was not too hot. Then he tried to get the creature to drink some milk, holding its small head up gently. At first, nothing happened, but after a few moments, a tiny pink tongue emerged and the creature took a small lap of the milk. Then another. Soon it was drinking steadily, and Tommy felt tears of relief running down his cheeks. He sat beside his makeshift nest for hours, watching the creature slowly recover. The ice on its scales began to melt, dripping onto the towels he had placed underneath. The shivering became less violent. Color started returning to the scales, shifting from dull gray to brilliant shades of blue and purple. Around midnight, the creature opened its eyes fully for the first time. It looked directly at Tommy and made a sound, a deep rumbling purr that reminded him of distant thunder. Small wisps of steam came from its nostrils, and Tommy realized the creature was finally warming up from the inside. The creature tried to stand on wobbly legs, shook itself, and then did something that amazed Tommy. It spoke, not in words he could understand, but he somehow knew what it meant. The creature was saying thank you. Tommy smiled and gently petted the creature's head, careful of the small horns that curved backward. The creature leaned into his touch, purring louder now, its tail wrapping affectionately around Tommy's wrist. Outside, the snow continued to fall, covering the city in white silence. Tommy did not notice the strange lights in the sky, moving in patterns that no airplane could make. He did not see the sleek silver ship that hovered above the neighborhood, its scanners sweeping the streets below in increasingly desperate patterns. Inside the ship, alarms were blaring. The crew searched frantically, their instruments showing that the missing prince had been in this area, but the signal had gone cold hours ago. They feared the worst. Tommy yawned and lay down beside the creature, pulling a blanket over both of them. The creature snuggled close, finally safe and warm. As Tommy drifted off to sleep, the creature watched him with intelligent golden eyes, memorizing every detail of the small human who had saved its life without hesitation, without asking for anything in return. Tomorrow would bring questions and chaos. But tonight, a boy and a dragon cat slept peacefully while outside an alien empire, prepared to face its greatest crisis in 1,000 years. Sunlight streamed through the bedroom window, warming Tommy's face. He opened his eyes slowly, remembering the events of last night. The creature was still there, curled up beside him, breathing steadily. Its scales now gleamed with healthy colors, shifting between deep blue and soft purple as it slept. Tommy heard his mother moving around in the kitchen. She must have come home late from her shift. He looked at the creature and whispered, "You have to be quiet, okay? My mom does not know about you yet." The creature opened one golden eye and made a soft chirping sound. It seemed to understand. But keeping secrets from his mother was harder than Tommy expected. She knocked on his door just minutes later, calling out that breakfast was ready. When he did not answer right away, she opened the door and stepped inside. Her eyes went wide. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. She stared at the creature, which had now sat up and was looking at her with curious eyes. "Tommy, what is that?" she finally managed to say, her voice shaking. "I found him last night, Mom. He was freezing and going to die. I had to help him," Tommy said quickly. His mother took a step closer, her nurse training kicking in as she examined the creature from a distance. "This is not any animal I have ever seen. Tommy, this is serious. We need to call someone." Before Tommy could respond, there was a loud banging on the apartment door. Not a knock, but an urgent pounding that made the walls shake. His mother rushed to answer it, with Tommy following close behind, the creature now perched on his shoulder like a strange parrot. When she opened the door, 3 figures stood in the hallway. The tallest one was nearly 7 feet high, with gray skin and large, dark eyes. He wore robes that shimmered like oil on water. Behind him stood 2 shorter beings in what looked like armor, their hands resting on weapons at their belts. "My name is Ambassador Reth of the Galactic Council," the tall being said in perfect English, though his mouth movements did not quite match the words. "I apologize for the disturbance, but I am searching for someone very important. May I come in?" Tommy's mother stood frozen, her brain struggling to process what she was seeing. Real aliens in her apartment hallway. Reth's eyes found the creature on Tommy's shoulder, and his whole body seemed to sag. With relief, "Prince Sorrow, thank the stars you are alive." The creature on Tommy's shoulder made a happy chirping sound and nuzzled against Tommy's cheek, showing no interest in going to the ambassador. "Prince," Tommy's mother whispered. Reth entered the apartment, his guards staying in the hallway. He moved carefully, as if afraid to startle them. "Yes, madam. The young one on your son's shoulder is Prince Sorrow of the Drakner Empire. He is the heir to one of the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy." Tommy held the creature, the prince, a little tighter. "Is he in trouble? I just wanted to help him." Reth looked at Tommy, and something like wonder crossed his alien features. "No, young one, he is not in trouble, but I must know, how did you find him? What happened?" Tommy explained the whole story while his mother listened in shock. How he found the prince frozen behind the dumpsters, how he gave him his coat, how he spent all night making sure the prince recovered. Reth listened to every word, and as the story went on, his expression changed from relief to something else, something Tommy could not quite read. "You gave him your coat?" Reth asked softly. "In that freezing weather, you removed your own protection to save him." "He needed it more than me," Tommy said simply. "I could get another coat. He was dying." Reth was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "Young Tommy, do you understand what would have happened if the prince had died on your planet? The Drakner Empire would have considered it an act of war. Your entire world would have been destroyed within days." Tommy's mother made a small sound and sat down heavily on the couch. "But he did not die," Tommy said, confused. "He is right here and he is okay now." "Yes," Reth agreed. "Because of you. Because a 7-year-old human child saw a suffering creature and chose to help, asking nothing in return." He paused, seeming to struggle with his next words. "In my 200 years of diplomatic service across thousands of worlds and hundreds of species, I have never witnessed such an act. Most beings would have seen an opportunity for profit or power. You saw only someone who needed help. The prince chirped again and licked Tommy's cheek with a warm tongue. I must contact the Drakner flagship, Reth said, pulling out a device from his robes. The Empress herself is searching for her son. She will want to see him. Immediately. Wait, Tommy said firmly. He just got better, he needs to rest more, and he needs to eat. I was going to make him breakfast. Reth stared at this small human child who was now giving orders about the care of an alien prince. Slowly, a smile crossed his face. You are quite right, young Tommy. The prince's health comes first. We will wait until he is ready. Tommy nodded, satisfied, and carried the prince toward the kitchen. Do you think he likes pancakes? He called back. Reth watched him go, then looked at Tommy's mother. Madam, your son may have just changed the course of galactic history. She could only nod, still too shocked to speak, as the smell of pancakes began to fill their small apartment, and an alien prince purred contentedly in her son's arms. 2 hours passed in strange peace. Tommy fed Prince Sorrow small pieces of pancake, which the little dragon cat ate with enthusiasm. Ambassador Reth sat at their small kitchen table, speaking quietly into his device while Tommy's mother made coffee with shaking hands. Then the device in Reth's hand began to glow bright red. He stood up quickly, his face showing worry. They are coming, the Empress herself. She is landing now. Here, to our apartment. Tommy's mother looked around at their modest home, suddenly embarrassed by the old furniture and the dishes still in the sink. Yes, madam. I tried to suggest a more formal location, but the Empress would not wait. She demands to see her son immediately. Tommy continued playing with Prince Sorrow on the living room floor, unconcerned. The prince rolled onto his back, wings spread out, enjoying having his belly scratched. The sound came first, a deep humming that made the windows rattle. Then a shadow fell across the street outside. Tommy ran to the window and gasped. A massive ship, shaped like a teardrop made of black metal, hovered directly above their building. It was so large it blocked out the sun. People on the street below were pointing and screaming. Some were running. Others stood frozen, staring up at the impossible sight. 3 beams of light shot down from the ship, and 3 figures materialized in the middle of the street. Even from 3 floors up, Tommy could see they were impressive. The one in the center was tall and covered in flowing robes of deep red and gold. She wore a crown that looked like it was made of fire. The Empress, Reth said quietly, moving to stand beside Tommy and her war council. They watched as the Empress looked up at the building, spoke to one of her companions, and then walked toward the entrance. Her movements were graceful but powerful, like a hunting cat. Minutes later, there was a knock on the door. This time it was polite, almost gentle. But when Tommy's mother opened it, the hallway was filled with alien figures. The Empress entered first. She was even more impressive up close. Her skin had the same blue-purple shimmer as Prince Sorrow's scales. Her eyes were the same golden color, but filled with an intensity that made Tommy take a step back. She wore armor under her robes, and a sword hung at her side. Her eyes swept the small apartment, taking in the worn couch, the crooked picture frames, the toy cars scattered on the floor. Then her gaze found Prince Sorrow, still lying on his back on the carpet, wings spread out, completely relaxed. Sorrow, she said, and her voice was like music mixed with thunder. The prince chirped happily, but did not move toward her. Instead, he rolled over and scampered to Tommy, climbing up his leg to perch on his shoulder once again. The Empress's eyes widened. Her war council shifted uncomfortably behind her. Your Majesty, Reth began, please let me explain. The Empress held up one hand, silencing him. She walked slowly toward Tommy, her footsteps making no sound despite her heavy armor. She knelt down so she was at eye level with the small boy. You are the one who saved my son? She asked. Tommy nodded. Yes, ma'am, I found him behind the dumpsters. He was really cold. And you gave him your coat? Yes, ma'am, he needed it. The Empress stared at Tommy for a long moment. Then she looked at Prince Sorrow, who nuzzled against Tommy's neck affectionately. He will not leave your side, she observed. He is a good boy, Tommy said, petting the prince's head. Are you mad at him for running away? The Empress blinked, surprised by the direct question. Mad? No, child, I am relieved he is alive. I am grateful someone found him and cared for him. She paused. But I do not understand. Why did you help him? Did you know who he was? What reward you might receive? Tommy looked confused. I did not know anything about him. He was just cold and scared. That is enough reason to help someone, is it not? One of the War Council members stepped forward. He was massive, covered in thick scales with scars across his face. Your Majesty, the human child speaks truth. Our scans show he had no knowledge of galactic affairs before today. He helped the prince out of pure instinct. The Empress sat back on her heels, looking stunned. Pure instinct, she repeated softly. To help a stranger, an alien creature at cost to himself, expecting nothing. She looked up at Reth. Ambassador, you said humans were unique. I did not believe you, but this. This is what I have observed in my time on Earth, Reth said. Their capacity for compassion, especially in their young, is unlike anything we have encountered. The Empress looked around the small apartment again, but this time with different eyes. She saw the photos on the wall, showing Tommy and his mother smiling together. She saw the books on the shelf, stories about heroes who helped others. She saw the small donations jar on the counter, marked for the animal shelter. You live simply, she said to Tommy's mother. You work hard, yet your son gave away his coat without hesitation. Tommy's mother found her voice. We do not have much, Your Majesty, but we have enough, and we were taught that when you have enough, you help those who do not. The Empress stood up slowly. She turned to her war council. I came here expecting a formal diplomatic facility, medical staff, trained professionals who saved my son hoping for reward or alliance. She gestured at the humble apartment. Instead, I find a child who did what any child of his species would do. He saw someone suffering and he helped. Prince Sorrow chose that moment to purr loudly, the sound filling the small room like distant thunder. The Empress smiled for the first time, and it transformed her face. My son is happy, truly happy. When was the last time I saw him this content? She looked at Tommy. You have done something remarkable, young human, more remarkable than you know. She reached into her robes and pulled out a small crystal that glowed with inner light. This is the Star of Drakner. It is given to those who have saved the life of the royal family. No alien has ever received one. Tommy took the crystal carefully. It was warm in his hand and pulsed gently like a heartbeat. Thank you, he said. Does this mean Prince Sorrow can stay and play for a while? The War Council gasped. The Empress laughed, a sound of genuine delight. You save a prince and ask only to play. With him, yes, young Tommy. He may stay if he wishes. Prince Sorrow chirped enthusiastically and licked Tommy's face. The Empress settled onto the couch with surprising grace. Her War Council remained standing, looking uncomfortable in the cramped space. Tommy's mother offered them all coffee, which led to an awkward moment when no one was sure if Drakner physiology could handle human beverages. Your Majesty, the scarred warrior said, his voice deep and rumbling. We must discuss the matter of debt. The prince's life was saved. By Drakner law, a blood debt is owed. The Empress nodded slowly. Yes, General Hark, you are correct. She turned to Tommy. Young one, in our culture, when someone saves a member of the royal family, that person may ask for anything within our power to grant. Territory, wealth, technology, position. What do you wish? Tommy thought for a moment, his face serious. Then he said, Can you make sure my mom does not have to work night shifts anymore? She gets really tired, and I worry about her walking home in the dark. The room fell completely silent. Tommy's mother made a small choking sound. Tommy, you cannot ask the Empress. Why not? Tommy asked innocently. She said anything, and I do not want gold or spaceships. I just want Mom to be safe. The Empress stared at Tommy with an expression that might have been shock. You would use a royal blood debt, worth billions of your currency, to ensure your mother's safety and comfort. Yes, ma'am. General Hark leaned down and whispered something to the Empress in their own language. It sounded like flowing water mixed with distant thunder. The Empress responded in the same language, and soon all the War Council members were talking at once. Ambassador Reth translated quietly for Tommy's mother. They are debating whether this is a trick, whether you are trying to appear humble to gain something greater later. They cannot understand why your son would not ask for wealth or power. Because he is 7 years old and he loves his mother, Tommy's mother said firmly. That is all there is to it. The Empress held up her hand and silence fell immediately. We have debated long enough. I have made my decision. She looked at Tommy's mother. Madam, what is your occupation? I am a nurse, Your Majesty, at City General Hospital. And you work night shifts because they pay more, yes, to support your son. Tommy's mother nodded, blinking back tears. This ends today, the Empress declared. General Hark, contact the human authorities. The Drakner Empire will establish a medical research grant with City General Hospital. This woman will be hired as a consultant and paid triple her current salary. She will work day shifts only, and her son's education will be fully funded through university. Tommy's mother tried to speak, but could not find words. But that is not all, the Empress continued. She looked at Tommy. Young one, you have shown my son more kindness in one night than most of his tutors and servants have shown in his entire life. You asked for nothing for yourself. This troubles me deeply. I do not need anything, ma'am, Tommy said. I am happy. That is precisely what troubles me, the Empress replied. In Drakner culture, we are taught that everything has a price. That kindness is weakness unless it serves a purpose. That compassion is a luxury only the powerful can afford. She gestured around the modest apartment. Yet here in this small home with few resources, I see more genuine compassion than in my entire palace. Prince Sorrow made a sound, almost like agreement, and the Empress smiled sadly. Even my own son knows this truth. Reth stepped forward. Your Majesty, if I may speak. The Empress nodded. This is what I have been trying to tell the Galactic Council for months, Reth said. Humanity is different. They have technology, yes, but it is not advanced. They have resources, but they are still developing. What they have, what makes them truly unique, is this. He pointed to Tommy. This instinct to help others, even at cost to themselves. This capacity to see suffering and respond with immediate compassion. It is weakness, General Hark growled. In the galaxy, such softness will be exploited. Is it weakness that saved the prince? Reth asked. Is it weakness that prevented a war that would have destroyed this entire system? Tommy had every reason to walk past that alley. It was cold. He was alone. The creature was strange and possibly dangerous, yet he stopped. He helped. He sacrificed his own comfort for a stranger. The Empress was quiet, her golden eyes thoughtful. Finally, she spoke. Ambassador Reth, you have been pushing for Earth to receive protectorate status. The Council has denied this request 7 times, saying Earth is too primitive, too unstable. Yes, Your Majesty. I am overriding the Council, the Empress declared. As of this moment, Earth is under the joint protection of the Drakner Empire and the Galactic Council. Any species that threatens this world will face our full military might. The War Council erupted in protests. General Hark stepped forward. Your Majesty, you cannot make such a decision based on one child's actions. What about our traditions, our protocols? The Empress stood, and her presence seemed to fill the small room. Our traditions nearly cost me my son. Our protocols would have led to unnecessary war. Perhaps it is time we learned from those who operate on different principles. She looked down at Tommy and Prince Sorrow, who were now playing with a toy truck on the floor, completely oblivious to the political earthquake happening around them. I have seen enough. This species, these humans, they have something we have lost, something we need to remember. She turned to Reth. Ambassador, I want you to arrange cultural exchanges. I want Drakner children to come to Earth and learn from human children. I want our warriors to train alongside human peacekeepers. I want our diplomats to study human history, their literature, their philosophy. Reth bowed deeply. It will be done, Your Majesty. And one more thing, the Empress said. She knelt beside Tommy again. Prince Sorrow has formed a bond with you. Such bonds are sacred in our culture. With your mother's permission, I would like Sorrow to remain on Earth part of each year to continue learning from you." Tommy looked up, his face bright with joy. "Really? He can stay and be my friend?" "If your mother agrees, yes." Tommy looked at his mother with pleading eyes. She looked at the small dragon cat prince, then at her son, and finally at the Empress. "Yes," she said softly. "He can stay, but he has to learn to clean up his toys and go to bed on time like Tommy." The Empress laughed again, that warm sound of genuine happiness. "I think that is more than fair." Prince Sorrow chirped and did a little dance, his wings fluttering with excitement. News of what happened spread across Earth within hours. Every television channel, every website, every newspaper carried the same incredible story. A 7-year-old boy had saved an alien prince and prevented an interstellar war, all because he gave away his coat. Outside Tommy's apartment building, crowds gathered. News crews from every country set up cameras. Government officials demanded meetings. Scientists wanted to study the prince. Everyone wanted to talk to Tommy. But the Drakner guards kept them all away. General Hark himself stood at the building entrance, his massive form and intimidating presence ensuring no one got through. "The child needs peace," he declared to the reporters. "Your human custom of hounding children for publicity disgusts me." Upstairs, Ambassador Reth sat with several Earth leaders who had been hastily transported to the apartment. The President of the United States, the Secretary General of the United Nations, and representatives from a dozen other nations crowded into the small living room. "Let me be clear," Reth said, addressing them all. "What happened here changes everything. Your planet was scheduled for standard observation for another 50 years before contact was established. But the Empress has declared Earth under immediate protectorate status. This means several things." He pulled out his device, and a holographic display appeared in the air, showing star maps and complex symbols. "First, Earth is now protected. Any hostile species that approaches your system will be warned away by Drakner warships. You are safe from external threats." The leaders looked relieved but also concerned. The President spoke up. "And what does Earth owe in return? What are the terms of this protection?" "That is what makes this unusual," Reth replied. "Normally, protectorate status requires tribute, technology sharing, or military alliance. But the Empress has set different terms. She wants cultural exchange only. She wants humans to teach other species about compassion and cooperation." "Teach?" The Secretary General looked confused. "We are the primitive ones. What could we possibly teach advanced civilizations?" Reth smiled. "Everything that matters. In 200 years, I have visited thousands of worlds. I have met hundreds of species. And I can tell you most of them have forgotten what it means to help someone for no reason. Most of them see every interaction as a transaction. But humans, especially young humans like Tommy, they still remember how to care." One of the representatives, a woman from Japan, spoke softly. "You make it sound like compassion is rare in the galaxy." "It is not rare," Reth corrected. "It is nearly extinct. Most species develop it early in their evolution, but as they advance technologically, they lose it. They become efficient, logical, powerful, but they stop feeling for others outside their own group. They stop seeing strangers as people deserving help." He gestured toward Tommy's bedroom, where the boy was reading a story to Prince Sorrow. That child had never seen a Drakner before. He had no idea if the creature was dangerous. He had no expectation of reward. He just saw someone suffering and responded with immediate compassion. Do you understand how powerful that is? How revolutionary? The room was quiet as the leaders absorbed this. "The Empress wants to bring that quality back to the galaxy," Reth continued. "She wants Drakner children to learn from human children. She wants her warriors to understand that strength without compassion is just brutality. She wants her diplomats to remember that beings on the other side of negotiations are people, not obstacles." The President leaned forward. "What exactly does this cultural exchange involve?" "Human teachers will be sent to Drakner worlds," Reth explained. "Drakner families will host human exchange students. Human mediators will be trained in galactic law and become part of dispute resolution teams. And most importantly, human philosophy, art, literature, and history will be studied throughout the Empire. And in exchange, you receive protection, access to some technologies that will help with medical care and environmental restoration, and a voice in galactic affairs. But understand this. Reth's tone became serious. The Empress is doing this not because humans are technologically impressive. She is doing this because she believes humans can remind the galaxy what it means to be good. A Chinese representative spoke up. That is a lot of pressure to put on one species, on one child's action. It is, Reth agreed. But it is also an opportunity. Earth was heading toward ecological collapse, resource wars, and possibly extinction within a few centuries. Now you have a chance to skip all that and join a galactic community that will help you avoid those mistakes. Tommy's mother entered the room carrying a tray of cookies. Excuse me, but Tommy wanted to know if anyone wants snacks. He says important meetings should have cookies. Several of the world leaders actually smiled. The tension in the room eased slightly. Your son is wise, the Japanese representative said, taking a cookie. Where is he now? Teaching Prince Sorrow how to play video games, Tommy's mother replied with a hint of pride in her voice. Though I think the prince is winning. As if on cue, there was a triumphant chirp from the bedroom, followed by Tommy's laughter. The president stood and walked to the bedroom doorway, looking in. There was Tommy, sitting cross-legged on the floor, a game controller in his hands, while Prince Sorrow used his tail to operate another controller. The prince's wings fluttered with excitement each time he scored a point. They look like normal kids playing, the president observed. They are, Reth said, coming to stand beside him. That is the point. Strip away the scales and wings, the titles and politics, and you have two young beings enjoying each other's company. That is what the Empress saw. That is what she wants to preserve and spread. General Hark appeared at the apartment door. Ambassador, the Empress requests your presence. She is making a galaxy-wide announcement. Everyone moved to the windows. Outside, the massive Drakner ship had moved higher into the atmosphere, visible for thousands of miles. A holographic projection appeared in the sky, showing the Empress seated on her throne, Prince Sorrow on her lap. Her voice boomed out, translated into every Earth language simultaneously. Beings of the Drakner Empire and citizens of the Galactic Council, I speak to you about a new chapter in our history. My son was saved by a child of Earth, a species we had dismissed as primitive. This child taught me something I had forgotten, that true strength lies not in weapons or power, but in the willingness to help those who suffer. She paused, letting her words sink in. I declare Earth under our protection, but more than that, I declare a new path for our empire. We will learn from these humans. We will remember what it means to care for others beyond our own benefit. And we will teach the galaxy this lesson, not through conquest, but through example. Prince Sorrow chirped on the broadcast, and the Empress smiled. My son has found a friend who values him not for his title, but for himself. This is the relationship I want between our peoples. Partnership built on respect and genuine caring, not on debt and obligation. The broadcast ended, and the massive ship began to rise, preparing to return to orbit. But a shuttle remained behind with guards and staff who would stay to help coordinate the new relationship between Earth and Drakner. Back in the apartment, Tommy emerged from his bedroom, Prince Sorrow perched on his head. Is all the talking done? He asked. Because we want to go to the park. The prince has never seen a swing set. The world leaders looked at each other, then at this small boy who had changed the fate of a planet. The president smiled. Yes, Tommy, the talking is done. Go show your friend the park. As Tommy and Prince Sorrow headed out, protected by Drakner guards, Ambassador Reth turned to the assembled leaders. Gentlemen and ladies, welcome to the galactic community. I suggest we start planning how to share what makes humanity special without losing it in the process. Outside, Tommy pushed Prince Sorrow on a swing, the little dragon cat shrieking with delight as he flew higher. Children from the neighborhood gathered. their initial fear turning to wonder and joy as they realized the alien was just like them, wanting to play and have fun. And in that moment, watching children of different worlds playing together, everyone understood what the Empress had seen. This was the future worth fighting for. 6 months passed, and Earth transformed in ways no one could have predicted. The Drakner Embassy was established not in some grand building in a capital city, but in Tommy's neighborhood. The Empress insisted that the heart of the alliance should remain close to where it began. The building was beautiful but not intimidating, designed to welcome visitors rather than impress them with power. Tommy walked to school each morning with Prince Sorrow on his shoulder, now a familiar sight to everyone in the area. The prince had learned English and could speak in a voice that sounded like wind chimes mixed with distant thunder. He attended school with Tommy, sitting at a specially designed desk, learning human history and mathematics alongside reading and writing. Other human children had been selected for the exchange program. They lived with Drakner families on distant worlds, learning alien languages and customs, while Drakner children stayed with human families on Earth. The program was so successful that dozens of other species had requested to participate. Tommy's mother no longer worked night shifts. She had become the head of the medical exchange program, teaching alien doctors about human compassion in patient care while learning advanced alien medical techniques. The hospital where she worked had become the leading center for cross-species medicine in the sector. But the real changes were more subtle and more profound. Human mediators had resolved 3 major conflicts between alien species in the past months, conflicts that had been deadlocked for years. They succeeded not through superior technology or military threat, but by helping each side see the other as people with legitimate needs and fears. A Drakner warrior named General Hark had written a book called Strength Through Compassion that became required reading in military academies across 12 species. In it, he argued that true warriors protected the weak, not because they were paid to, but because it was right. Ambassador Reth had been promoted to Chief of Cultural Exchange for the entire Galactic Council. His first act was to establish the Tommy program, named after the boy who started it all, which sent young members of advanced species to live with families on developing worlds to learn humility and compassion. As for Tommy, he was still just a 7-year-old boy who liked video games, playground swings, and his best friend who happened to be an alien prince. On this particular afternoon, Tommy sat in his backyard with Prince Sorrow, both of them working on homework. The prince was writing an essay about human literature, while Tommy struggled with math problems. "I do not understand why humans make mathematics so complicated," Prince Sorrow complained, his tail swishing in frustration. "The Drakner system is much simpler." "Everything is simple to you," Tommy replied, erasing another wrong answer. "You are a genius, Prince. I am just a regular kid." "You are not regular," Prince Sorrow said seriously. "You saved my life, you changed the galaxy. How is that regular?" Tommy shrugged. "I just did what anyone would do." "But that is the point," Prince Sorrow insisted. "You think anyone would do it, most beings would not. That is what makes humans special. You expect kindness from each other, so you give it freely." The back door opened and the Empress stepped out. She visited Earth often now, always staying in a small apartment near Tommy's home rather than in the embassy. She claimed she liked the neighborhood, the way humans greeted each other on the street, the sound of children playing. "Your Majesty," Tommy said, standing up politely. "Sit, sit," she said with a warm smile. "I am not here for formal business. I brought cookies. Your mother said they are your favorite." They sat together in the warm sunshine, eating cookies and watching birds fly overhead. Prince Sorrow tried to catch a butterfly with his tail, making both Tommy and the Empress laugh. "I have been thinking," the Empress said after a while, "about that night 6 months ago, about what would have happened if you had walked past that alley, if you had decided it was too cold to stop, if you had thought someone else would help." "But I did not walk past," Tommy said simply. "No, you did not. And that choice, that one moment of compassion, has rippled out in ways I am still discovering. Do you know how many conflicts have been resolved peacefully because negotiators remembered your example? How many beings have been saved because warriors learned that protecting is more honorable than conquering? Tommy looked uncomfortable. I just helped someone who needed help. Exactly, the Empress said. That is the lesson. It should not require grand gestures or heroic sacrifice. It should be as natural as breathing. See suffering, reduce it. See need, fill it. See loneliness, offer friendship. Prince Sorrow climbed into Tommy's lap, purring contentedly. Father says that before I met Tommy, I was lonely even surrounded by servants. Now I am happy even in a simple backyard. The Empress reached over and stroked her son's head. Your father is wise. We gave you everything except what you needed most. A friend who cared about you, not your title. Tommy does not even remember I am a prince most of the time, Sorrow said with amusement. Yesterday he made me clean my side of the room because I left my toys everywhere. Good, the Empress said firmly. Princes need to learn responsibility too. Ambassador Reth appeared at the back gate. Forgive the interruption, but the council session is about to begin. The Empress stood. I must go. We are voting on extending protectorate status to 3 more developing worlds. The old council would have denied all 3, but the new council with human advisors will likely approve them all. That is good, Tommy said. Yes, the Empress agreed. It is very good, and it is happening because you gave your coat to a freezing creature in an alley. She paused at the gate. Tommy, I want you to know something in Drakner history. Books, this period will be known as the Great Awakening, the time when we remembered our hearts, and it will all trace back to you. After she left, Prince Sorrow looked up at Tommy. Does it feel strange, being so important? Tommy thought about it. I do not feel important. I feel like me. I go to school, I play games, I do homework. The important people are the ones doing big things in space. The big things in space are happening because of small things on Earth, Prince Sorrow said wisely. Because one small boy showed us all how to be better. That night, Tommy wrote in the journal his teacher had assigned. The prompt was, what I did that mattered. He wrote, I found a cold creature and gave him my coat. He turned out to be a prince. Everyone says I changed the galaxy. I do not understand that. I just helped someone who needed help. Is that not what everyone should do? His teacher wrote back, Yes, Tommy, that is exactly what everyone should do. Thank you for reminding us. Across the galaxy, on thousands of worlds, beings were learning that same lesson. Drakner children played with alien friends, learning that differences made life interesting, not frightening. Warriors trained to protect rather than conquer. Diplomats sought understanding rather than advantage. And it all traced back to a snowy evening in a small city on a minor planet, where a 7-year-old boy saw someone suffering and did the only thing that made sense to him. He helped. Years later, when historians asked Tommy about that night, about the moment that changed everything, he always gave the same answer. He was cold, I had a coat, what else would I do? And in that simple statement was the entire lesson. Compassion should not be complicated. It should not require debate or justification. When someone needs help, you help. That was the human way. And now, thanks to one boy and his coat, it was becoming the galactic way. Prince Sorrow grew up alongside Tommy, learning what it meant to be both a prince and a good person. When he eventually took the throne, he ruled with wisdom and compassion, always remembering the human boy who taught him that true strength was in caring for others. The alliance between Earth and Drakner lasted for millennia, built on the foundation of that first friendship between 2 children from different worlds. And every year, on the anniversary of the night Tommy found Prince Sorrow, beings across the galaxy celebrated the Day of the Coat, when they were encouraged to perform acts of kindness for strangers, asking nothing in return. Because sometimes, the most important thing you can do is give your coat to someone who is cold. And that is exactly what heroes do. The end.